Hey, looks like I'm on air. I have some interesting stuff to talk about, and it's very clear to me that people are not believing what their Bible says. They get an idea that something must be the thing that the Bible's talking about, and then they run with it. And this is what I think pretty much everybody does. And we're going to talk about it here. And prefacing this, any people that I mention here or that I talk about here are not my rivals or my enemies or something. They're my brothers and sisters. So I don't want people to get the wrong idea and think that I am ripping on the people that I'm kind of using for an example, because I love these people. And it's not that I want to tell them you're deceived, but in so many words, I can't say anything other than you're deceived. And what I'm talking about is the beast that deceived the whole world. We're going to talk about it, and I'm going to do a screen share. I'm working on setting that up right now. And I do have, whoops, where are we? I do have a page open. Hey, fool me not. How you doing? So Parable of the Vineyard, Adam Fink is one of my good friends, and that guy is awesome. So we're going to look at a couple of things he said last night in the video, and I want to give my perspective on them. Because I'm not ripping on Adam, but I'm saying he's in error big time. And it's clear. And it'll take a little while to point this out, but I'll have to do it just kind of one thing at a time. And it's not just Adam that I'm picking on. It's and I'm not picking on anyone really. I want people to see this thing that they're ignoring. Kent Hovind is the only person in the world that I've ever seen acknowledge some of these verses that I'm going to go over. He's the only one in the world that acknowledges these verses, because these concerning like the Roman Catholic Church or the Pope or whatever, there's a lot of people that think that this has something to do with the beast, and it just simply doesn't. But let me go to sorry about that. All right, let's go to desktop, and this should work, I hope. Let's see, I can check by looking down there. Yeah, I think it looks like it's working. Okay. We're going to do a little bit of looking into Revelation 13. We're going to listen to Adam, something that he was saying last night, and I just wanted to talk about it. So we're going to go over to his video for a minute and listen for a little bit.
And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Yahuwah, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle. Again, what's his tabernacle? New Jerusalem.
That was about all I probably needed to play for this moment here. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name. Okay, that could be the Pope. But this next thing is not the Pope or the Roman Catholic Church or anything like that. And his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. We're talking about heaven. And let's keep listening to Adam for a minute.
And them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. This has been going on since, wow, goodness.
Except, Adam, I have to point this out. The Pope doesn't have power over all kindreds, tongues, and nations. Not even close. I don't even think I know a single person that believes that the Pope is anything other than some scam guy for some fake religion. Get it? He's not fooling the world. Not at all. Not even close. And actually, let me go back just a little bit. Speaking great things and blasphemies, that's fine. I know a lot of my friends that speak great things and blasphemies against God. But this is a specific one that we're talking about here. And he blasphemes God's tabernacle. He goes into heaven, or I don't know exactly what the word would be. But let's go to Daniel 8 really quick. Okay. Here's a verse that this is the one I was talking about, that Kent Hovind is the only person that acknowledges this verse and what it actually says. Daniel 8, verse 10. This is talking about the he-goat, and this is something Daniel saw with his eyes in a vision. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. So how is the Pope doing this? The Pope is not doing this. And how is any other thing that I hear people talking about? The United Nations or the what? All these things, none of them are going up to the, none of them look like a little horn, first of all. None of them look like a little horn, and none of them wax great to the host of heaven. We're talking about a spaceship, because a rocket, there's only one thing in this world, and if anyone can tell me different, I would entertain it, but I can only think of one thing in this world that goes up to heaven. I'm going to go over to the chat here. Hey, Trevor. Hey, Peanuts Clark. Let's see here. I'm going to be hanging out with you guys while I'm doing this, so I don't want to rush through it. Oh, okay. That's a good question, Trevor Prather. He asks, so he's wondering, do I believe the ISS is actually up there? Well, it all depends on how you look at it, because I believe that God's throne is up there. That's what I believe, if we want to talk about what's actually up there. But I also believe what I read in the Bible about Babylon, and what Enoch said about the place where there's a prison up there. And so when people say space is fake, it's not, it's all deception, it's all fake, I agree. But there might be a space station up there, is what I'm saying, that men did build. And what that is strong delusion. It's not something, so it's real to the people that are flying up to it, or what, all the stuff that they claim they're doing. That's real to those people, but to a child of God, it's not, if that makes any sense. What I'm saying is, I believe, and if you look into these programs, they do launch Falcon 9 rockets, and we've all seen them, not maybe with our own eyes, but we've seen videos of them and whatever. And they do land these boosters. It was, is not, and yet is. Exactly. Flat Earth is New Jerusalem. Kind of said it better than I did. The ISS, it is, or I should say it. I'll try to word it this way. It was to everyone in the world. Okay. Everyone in the world believed in it. And then, but it really is not. But to the whole world that's going to believe Satan, it still is. So it was, is not, and yet is. So I'm going to guess that most of the people that are listening here in this chat or whatever also agree with me that it's strong delusion. That no matter the degree of physical real it is in this world, God did not speak that to be God spoke it to be a beast that was deceiving the world, if that makes sense. All right, I don't want to prove to me that our Creator did not give me dominion over the earth. Well, I think he did give you dominion over the earth, but not heaven. So that's my take on that. I wouldn't be able to prove to you that he did not give dominion over the earth, because I think he did. And actually, we can look that up with Noah, and well, we'll do that later. Let's see here. Okay, sounds like you need to find new friends. Not sure what that's referring to. Oh, I think I said something about my friends. I don't know. I can't remember. Sorry, Trevor. Okay, is it true that Moses had a horn growing from his head? No. I've never read that in the Bible. It's a delusion. Flat Earth is New Jerusalem says. Trevor, something is up there, difficult to discern. Yes, Tacoma Hooligan is correct. I've filmed it hundreds of times myself. I've watched it and filmed it. It's and if you really want to actually know the truth in this world, now there's actual truth, like the truth of the word of God, and then there's the truth in this world that's a lie. So what I should probably be careful how I'm saying that. Yeah, Jeranism, he watched Transit Across the Sun recently. Now there's a YouTube channel called US Launch Report, and it's a bunch of veterans that they're located somewhere down by Cape Canaveral, and they film all this stuff, and they have pretty sweet cameras, and they have these cameras that track the ISS and film it. Well, if you want to go, if you're doubting that there's something up there, like go to US Launch Report and go into their search and just type in ISS, and you'll probably get some videos with ISS footage. Yeah, well, I know you will. And you can see that it's exactly what they portray it to be. Now, when I film it with my P1000, or if I try to catch it with my telescope, which is really hard, but with the P1000, you get a pretty decent image, and you can see the solar arrays, and you can see the all that stuff. Now, this is where it comes into really belief. What does a person believe? Let's see here. I'm gonna go back to the comments here. Hey, P900 cool pics. Hey, all right. Hope you guys are all doing good. That's what I say. Flat Earth is New Jerusalem says it. I think it's a projection, and I think I understand that angle that you're what you're saying, and I agree with part of that. Kind of like how Mark Sargent says it's a planetarium or whatever. Like it's lights on the ceiling of where we live, and I agree with that part of it. But as far as the projection part, where does the rocket go? Where does Dragon go to a projection? No, Dragon goes up to something and gives it its power. So that's I'm talking about SpaceX Dragon. But oh, okay, let's look that up right now. Exodus chapter 34, because I've never heard this before. I think I might have seen something about like a statue or something like that, but I can't remember what it was about. So let's look here and let's see. I'm just going to skim it really quick. Maybe if you know a verse, but because how long is this chapter? It looks like it's decent, pretty long. Okay, now I do know that when Moses came down, that his face was kind of glowing. That's in verse 35 here. Or let's go. We'll start in let's see here. I'll start in 32. And afterward, all the children of Israel came nigh, and he gave them in commandment all that the Lord had spoken with him in Mount Sinai, until Moses had done speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. But when Moses went in before the Lord to speak with him, he took the veil off until he came out. And he came out and spake unto the children of Israel that which he was commanded. And the children of Israel saw the face of Moses, that the skin of Moses' face shone. And Moses put the veil upon his face until he went in to speak with him. Like the glory of the Lord was seen on Moses's face still. I guess that's, I don't know if that, I mean, that doesn't sound like it's what you're referring to, but it can't hurt just to learn it. Let's see what else. I'm just kind of, okay. I'm not seeing anything. I'm going to go back to the chat here. I'm not seeing anything about it. Hey, Cool Picks P900, I have a question for you. Do you like the P900 better or the P1000 better? Just a question. Fool Me Not says, just because people see something up there doesn't mean it's orbiting in space. And I can agree with that. We see the, we see the sun and moon up there, and what's the first thing that men want to do? Oh, it's this far away and we know this about it, and its core is 15 million degrees, and they just make all these just stupid claims that we can't know. And then we were born into that, thinking that we're all smart as human beings. But you know what? God created this world and we have no idea about what we're talking about as far as how far this is from that. And like, I agree with that. There is no such thing as an orbit. That's the whole trick, you guys. That is the mark of the beast, or the number of his name, 666. That is, let's see here. Let's get a calculator out here real quick. We're going to calculate the number of the beast right now. Let's calculate for 10 miles. Let's get the curvature. So we'd go 10 times 10 times 0.666. 66.6. Let me just double check if that's right, because that's something I usually don't do it that way. But if we said 10 times, if we're going 10 miles, we'd have 100 times 8 divided by 12. So we have 800 divided by 12. And what is that? 66.6. The curvature formula is 0.666 times miles squared. Just think about that really hard. Miles squared times 0.666. And that's the number of the beast and the number of his name. So what I'm trying to say is, or let's go to Revelation 13 really quick. Let's see here. Okay, down here. Let him that understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 666. Now I want to back to just for a second here. We're going to go back to Adam, and let's see here. Well, I don't remember where it was, so I don't want to waste all your time. By the way, this is a great channel. If you are not subscribed to, whoops, I do that all the time. If you're not subscribed to Parable of the Vineyard, please go subscribe, because Adam is he is a servant of God, and he has a pure heart and pure intentions, and he's filled with the Spirit. And that's something I do know, and I know him. I talk with Adam every once in a while, and I know that he, doesn't understand the thing that I'm trying to point out, but that's I don't know if we're all supposed to or whatever, but it is something that I'm real concerned about. I see, and it's not, he has 100,000 subscribers, and that's great. And I'm not saying he's misleading people, because it's called study, and it's called trying to understand. That's what we're all doing. And it's the Spirit that leads us to understanding. So But Adam is familiar with Ezekiel 33 and 3, or I don't remember. Yeah, 3 and 33, I think. The things that the Lord whispers to us in our ear, we're supposed to shout those things out on the rooftop. So that's what Adam's doing. Is there anything wrong with that? No, it's the right thing. So I just want to make sure people know I'm not ripping on anybody just because I disagree with them. But I do have this kind of concern, and it's not just Adam, it's any people, but I have a concern about the people that that are talking about, really it's the people that are talking about the Pope being or the Roman Catholic Church, or it's anything to do with the beast. Sorry, it's just not it's not at all what the Bible's saying. And we can go right here, okay? This is my favorite one right here. Okay. Context. There's a channel called Kingdom. What is it? I don't remember what it's called. Kingdom Context or something like that. And that dude is the furthest away from being in context of anybody. But the context of this is so important because it gives us clear answers. We already were, I already commented about God's tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. That's what he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And all power was given him over, and power was given him over all kindreds, tongues, and nations. So there is no church or no nothing like that that has power over all kindreds, tongues, and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. So if this is the case, then Adam would have to be saying that Adam has worshipped this Roman Catholic Church or whatever he's saying that the beast is, which is clearly not true. So I guess what I'm saying is right here, we get answers. John sees this with his eyes, so don't think he's symbolizing something or like representing something. Don't add to it. John said, I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. Okay. Very important. Coming up out of the earth. Very important. And he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Well, a dragon gives the beast, the first beast, the dragon gives him his power. So the second one, the second beast lifts dragon out of the earth, or whatever, however you want to say it. Look at it. But let's keep the context. So he just came up out of the earth, and now what does he do? He doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Okay, this is blatantly clear that the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church and these United Nations, okay, they don't make fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men and use that to deceive the world. In verse 14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. So in the sight of this first beast that gets his power from the dragon, and they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. Okay. Who is able to make war with him? Okay. The Pope ain't trying to make war. I mean, he ain't really making war with anybody. The Pope is just a false teacher or a false leader or whatever you want to call it. Just a human being that is misguided into thinking that God is something that God is not. So this second beast that John sees, what does he do? He comes up out of the earth, and then he makes fire come back down. And that's how he deceives them that dwell on the earth. Okay, remember in Daniel 8, verse 10, what it said? Whoops, that was verse 10. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. And then verse 11, yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. That would be an angel. Michael is the prince of the host. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of the sanctuary was cast down. This is talking about heaven, you guys. Clearly, there's stars, and they get cast down, even to the host of heaven. This is the verse right here that only Kent Hovind is the only person in the world that acknowledges this verse that I've seen. This verse, because what did Kent say right when he read this verse? Kent goes, oh, see, this is talking about a different kind of kingdom here. This is talking about like a heavenly kingdom, or like a kingdom that goes up to heaven. And then right after that, Kent said, he said, we can't go up to heaven. Well, that's kind of interesting because Kent still believes in the globe and does believe that we can go to space and all this stuff. So I don't know why he's saying that we can't go to heaven, but he is right. We can't go to heaven. Men cannot ascend into heaven. Okay, now look at this verse down here. What was it? This one here. Now, I wanted to point this out because a lot of people that talk about the beast and all this stuff, they talk about it like it's happening over the course of 500 years, but that's just not the case. The days, the amounts of days are even laid out for us in Daniel 8. And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days shall the sanctuary, or then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Not 5,000 years ago, and that's not what it is. Right here it says, so he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. He said unto me, understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. So all this stuff that we just read about, this whole vision, is at the time of the end. Likely during those 2,300 days, 2,300 days. So it's not talking about the history of the Catholic Church or the Roman Empire. It's really not talking about that. It might be, it might reflect the same kind of information, but it's talking about a beast that Daniel saw. And look at verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. That means it was flying. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Okay, so let's go to where I want to end up in Revelation 17. This one, oh, I already had one open. This one, this is another one. Everybody gets this. Everybody will not acknowledge this verse or what it says in the verse. It actually says where Babylon is. It tells us where Mystery Babylon is and where the beast is and where the beast is, or where Mystery Babylon's riding the beast and all these details. It tells us where that is right in verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. Okay, well, we have to be careful here that we're not assuming things, because the wilderness is not some field on earth. It's not some piece of land on earth. It's actually in the spirit. It's not even physical. So this is very important. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Well, it tells us what the heads are. In verse 9, the 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. So the 7 mountains, how do we know what that is? Well, two places that come to mind right now. Revelation 8, and we'll read that after we read Enoch. Whoops, I gotta open this here. And we'll go to, which chapter was I thinking of? I can't remember what we'll just go to chapter 18. Okay, mountains, we were talking about Now, 7 mountains. Listen to this. Verse 10. Let's see, verse 13. Well, actually, we'll go to verse 12. And beyond that abyss, he's talking about the abyss of fire, the bottomless pit. And beyond that abyss, I saw a place which had no firmament of heaven above and no firmly founded earth beneath it. There was no water upon it and no birds, but it was a waste and horrible place. I saw there 7 stars, like what? Great burning mountains. Okay. And the reason why he called them burning mountains was explained a little better in chapter 21. Okay, right here. These are the number of stars of heaven which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord and are bound here till 10,000 years. Okay. But look at the very last verse. And he said unto me, this place is the prison of the angels, and here they will be imprisoned forever. Oops, wrong one. Okay, I'm just gonna. Whoops. I'm doing everything weird. Sorry. Okay, right here. Revelation 18, verse 2. Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, the hold of every false spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. This place is a prison for fallen angels. And in the book of Enoch, let's go to chapter 19. It clearly says, no one can even argue with this. It says right here, here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind and shall lead them astray. Now let's talk about the ISS now. What if Babylon the Great, okay, we just read about Babylon the Great being a habitation of devils. A habitation of devils, okay? Oh, great burning mountains. I just wanted to read to you Revelation 8, verse 8 is where John sees something. And the second angel sounded, and as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. Okay, this is the exact same terminology that Enoch used. Mountain burning with fire. So John could have seen a planet or whatever get thrown, another angel, basically a fallen angel, cast into the sea, and a third part of the sea became blood. So expect that. But let's go to where was I going? I'm going to go back to the chat because I lost my train of thought here. It's a screen that rolls up like a scroll. That's a good point. Well, Trevor, there wouldn't have to be aerodynamic or anything because it's not even in the world. It's not even in the. Look at the physics up in where the ISS is. There is no physics. There's no gravity or whatever they want to call it. There's no water, no birds. Just like Enoch said, it's a waste and horrible place. It's a place of punishment. It's the bottomless pit. So what I'm saying is space is the bottomless pit. But you don't need to have aerodynamic anything if there's no particles and no nothing, and it's not even a place, and it's just strong delusion. So almost what I'm saying is God, since these people are so wicked in their hearts, including us, we were the same thing. I'm just saying we've come out of it. But God, when they went to the moon, he probably just made that as, be what they perceived. I guess what I'm saying is God doesn't have to have like a physical, and he doesn't have physics. He doesn't have to worry about physics. He made everything. So if men want to go to the moon and in their hearts they're wicked, and God wants to send them strong delusion so that they believe the lie because they're wicked in their hearts, that delusion is probably going to be pretty strong. When God says it's strong, it'll be strong, like very strong. So an orbiting space station, that doesn't even seem all that hard to me. What I'm saying is that God did not create a place for us to go. Let's see here. John 3. Jesus said this very clearly, talking to Nicodemus, and he's in, I think it's verse 12 or 13. And no man hath ascended up to heaven, but he that came down from heaven, even the Son of Man, which is in heaven. Okay. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up. Okay. So I'm going back to comments again. No, I got that, Peanuts. I wasn't saying you were making the claim. I was just kind of looking into it. I don't see that to be true myself. Let's see what we got here. Whoops. Whoa. All right. Yes, Ken Hovind is a globe enthusiast. Yes, he is sorely mistaken on that, but that will change with Ken Hovind will change his thinking on that because of fear. Because if he's not going to do it now, it's going to be because of the fear for his life. And I'm not judging Kent. I'm saying that anybody who doesn't believe the truth now that it's been revealed, people say this is not a salvation issue. I so strongly argue with that. This is salvation. This is the grace of God. I'm talking about flat earth, the truth. It's by the grace of God that we can be saved. And of course, people will say, what are you saying, that people that died and never learned about flat earth, they're going to hell? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that in the last 3 years, there's truth in this world that has never been revealed in this world, at least while we've been here. And it comes from heaven. This truth came down from heaven. And yeah, it's hard for people to recognize that. They think it's like, I don't understand how someone can go their whole life living on a globe, deceived, and then have someone show them the truth, like have the Spirit show them the truth, and then have them say, yeah, but it's just a truth. It's not more important than the gospel. Are you kidding me? It is the gospel. That's why Jesus gave it to us. That's why that's okay. Just compare it with Acts chapter 2. Just compare it with the day of Pentecost. What happened that day? People were speaking in different tongues, and they all understood each other in foreign languages. And they're like, what is this? Well, and then of course you have, I think it was Peter saying, now these men are not drunk as ye suppose. This is what the prophet Joel wrote about. This is the Spirit of God. And he's pouring it out on all flesh. That's what's happening right now in our world. Okay, going back to the comments. I don't know if I'll be able to get through all of them, but yeah, I think you're right, Cleary. The Catholics are in on the heliocentric religion. I think that I might have read that wrong. I think the Catholics are just Catholics. They're just people deceived into believing men instead of God. But they're definitely not fooling the whole world. Globalism is the one world religion. Yes, flat earth is New Jerusalem. That is the truth. The globe is, well, it's actually not globalism. It's actually space. It's actually the space exploration, because that's the that's the whole reason why there's a globe at all to begin with, is to create the idea of outer space. So that obviously God's throne is there. Well, if you believe that it's not, then you're really not believing in God. So, no, see, clearly that I gotta disagree with you on that. I mean, not like strongly or something. I'm just saying, fool me not might have a good point. Let me go back up there. Yes, it is literal, unless otherwise instructed. And what you mean by that, fool me not, is when there's a scenario or a story in the Bible, we treat it as a scenario or a story that it's set up as. Like it's easy to communicate. It's easy to communicate a story to someone if they don't add their crap to it. So that, yeah, I think that's what you're saying. But fool me not, created by the synagogue of Satan to derail Christianity. So that is true, but it's actually just the very last end times deception. The synagogue of Satan. Now, people might not like what I'm going to say here, but it's true. The synagogue of Satan is the churches, like the church that I used to go to, and any church that, now that the truth is revealed, any church that suppresses or hides that truth in unrighteousness, they're the synagogue of Satan. And what I'm saying is the truth that's been revealed, flat earth, biblical cosmology. Let's see. Yes, heliocentrism is the great deception. See, flat earth is New Jerusalem. Let me try to explain to you, because you totally have a great point. Eighth wandering star, globe earth. I get that. But that's only like our little assumption as human beings, because that's not what the word of God is saying. Let me see here. Where am I? Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. Okay. The beast that was and is not and yet is, that beast gets its power from the dragon, its power, seat, and great authority from the dragon. So that is something that, what dragon is giving the earth its power? The globe, I mean. It could be looked at that way, but that's what I'm saying is SpaceX Dragon literally resupplies and brings cargo to and from the space station. And the space station orbits the curvature of the earth. And that's the deception, is the orbit, the curvature, the orbit. Because all that the ISS is doing is flying over the earth, just like your airplane flies over the earth. It's flying over the earth. But that's the other thing too, is it's not flying over the earth. God didn't create the earth that way. So it is a matter of belief, but I'm just trying to get you to see what I'm pointing out. The feet of a bear, the space station, there's only one way to get to the space station right now. And why is that? That's because of a deadly wound that NASA suffered when the shuttle's wings were plucked thereof. You know, the one that was lifted up from the earth and made stand on feet as a man. This is all very specifically clear. And Daniel 7 verse 6, the one with the 4 wings and like a fowl and 4 heads, he was given dominion. And we're not talking about dominion of the earth. We're talking about dominion of the host of heaven. And it's the kingdom of God, or the kingdom of heaven. And like Adam said, it's New Jerusalem. So God's tabernacle is New Jerusalem. That's where that will come down. Let's see here. See, that makes no sense. Flat Earth is New Jerusalem. Heliocentric is Mystery Babylon for the last 490 years. No, that's not true at all. Let me share. Let's read about Mystery Babylon. Where do we find Mystery Babylon? Right here. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. That's where John went to see Mystery Babylon. Now here's another thing. Now this could go for the globe or for the space station. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. The globe did not ascend out of the bottomless pit. But And what I'm saying is the ISS is in the bottomless pit right now. Space. They that dwell on the earth shall wonder when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. So they're going to wonder when they see it. And he's the eighth and goes into perdition. Now, the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. Oh, let me talk about kings. Let me go back to Daniel 7. People are misleading themselves by assuming that they know something that God forgot to put in the Bible. Okay, Daniel 7 verse 4 was the first beast that he saw. Then in 7 verse 5 he sees another one. 7 verse 6 he sees another one. Then 7 verse 7 he sees the fourth one. And then after that he sees another horn. Like, I don't know how people get the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church and stuff from Daniel's description of a horn that waxed great up to heaven. That's what the point I'm trying to make mostly is that the Roman Catholic Church or Pope or whatever, that doesn't at all fit any of this at all. Not even at all. But let's see here. What does it say in Daniel 7 verse 17? This is another verse that guys like Adam or whatever, they won't acknowledge this because it kind of breaks up their whole thinking on it. These great beasts which are four kings. So Daniel said that he saw, the first was like a lion and it had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings were plucked thereof, and it was lifted up from the earth. Now, like, okay, if you're thinking it's the Rome or the Roman Catholic Church or the Pope or the UN or whatever, which one of them, what does this verse mean to you? This verse has no meaning to you at all. It's like you might as well just pass it up, because it says he had wings, first of all, eagle's wings, and then the wings were plucked. Now, the shuttle program, this is talking about the space shuttle right here. The shuttle program in 2011 was shut down abruptly with no replacement. So we had a space station and no way to get there or back. So how did we get there? How do we get there to this day? NASA has not put an astronaut in space in 8 years, guys. Somehow they continue on with this deadly wound that they have with, okay, they're a space company that doesn't have the capability to launch into space or an astronaut. Okay, that's a deadly wound. And SpaceX Dragon, that gives his beast the power, or gives the beast his power. Dragon 2 is a little horn, and Dragon 2 does subdue 3 kings, because the kings are not men. They're not government. They're not anything like this. Daniel gave us a description of them. So if you know a government that is like a bear and raises itself on one side and had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. You notice every one of these beasts goes up to heaven. Arise. It was lifted up from the earth. Dominion was given to it. Okay, these beasts. All right. So in Daniel 7 verse 17, it says, these great beasts which are 4 kings. And then it tells us what they're going to do, which shall arise out of the earth. Remember this? Revelation 13, or where was that? 13? Sorry. Look at this. Coming up out of the earth. And then he makes fire come back down from heaven. All of these beasts are rockets. Every single one. Or the ISS. So that's my little side note there. Let's see. Well, I went a little further than I thought. don't trust Hovind. Well, you know that it's not like I don't. It's not like I trust what he says or something. It's not about that. It's that Kent Hovind has a heart for the Lord, and Kent Hovind has opened my eyes to a lot of things, and he's opened all of your eyes to a lot of things too. I'm sure the whole debate between evolution and creation wouldn't even exist the way that it does if Kent Hovind wasn't alive. Kent Hovind pioneered the truth being told. Okay, so I understand that he rejects God's truth at this point, but he is a brother of ours, is what I'm saying, and he's just deceived, and he thinks we're deceived, but that's fine. Now, saying Hovind is a snake, I don't agree with that at all. In fact, that comment should be deleted. I don't know why anyone would say Kent Hovind is a snake. Trevor, maybe you can, give a little bit of a description of what you mean. Because Kent Hovind, he wants to win people to the Lord. So I don't think that that's a snake. The Vatican, the Vatican has no influence. If they have influence over people in the world, it's not the kind of influence that this is talking about. In I keep doing that. Revelation 13. This says here, and they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. So where's the dragon as far as for the Vatican or for the Roman Catholic Church? Nobody talks about the dragon. They just say, oh, the dragon's Satan. Well, that's obvious. The dragon's Satan. It says that in Revelation 12. But we have so much information about this dragon. It looks like a little horn, and it's called a king. And it has 10 horns. Well, guess what? They made 10 Dragon capsules. SpaceX did. And then they started making the Dragon 2 for 7 passengers or whatever to heal the deadly wound that NASA has. And the feet of a bear on the, I'm just saying these things are all very clear to me. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his tabernacle. All right, I'm going to go back to comment. Hey, Davey. I'm trying to say hi to everyone. Thank you, Davey. God gave us authority over every living thing on the earth, in the sky, and in the seas. I never read anything about Moses having a horn in his head. Thank you, Davey. I believe the same thing. Enoch should be in the Bible along with many other books. Yes, Enoch was in the Bible. It was I think it was in the 1611 King James, and maybe even before. Like, it was removed by now that could be something like the Vatican or the Roman Catholic Church. They can have parts in they can play roles in doing some of these things, but that doesn't mean that they're the beast or have anything to do with the beast. It'd be like if I was on here selling you the idea of how true the globe was, that wouldn't make me the beast. That would make me serving the beast. You know what I mean? Working for the beast or whatever. Okay, let's see here. Cleary, I don't think you're right there. The Old Testament God at times was an evil angel. He wasn't the Father. That makes no sense. That's not biblical. Tell me how a Christian creationist like Hovind can deny all the scriptures and logical thinking to continue this. It's because I'll tell you how. It's not because he's a snake. It's because he's believing a snake. He's deceived. Hovind, I'm talking about. So that I guess what I'm saying is, Trevor, let me ask you a question. I'm not trying to get the answer. I'm just trying to put it into perspective. Does your mother believe in a flat earth? If not, is she a snake? You get what I'm saying? I hope you do. Tartarus. That is, I believe, where's Tartarus? Is that the Tartarus could be? Is that where the fallen angels are? Because if that's the case, I know the fallen angels are up in heaven. That's what I know. They're in a prison in heaven called Babylon the Great. Let's see here. The Pope has no real power. Exactly. The Pope is just some dude that someone picks and it's just a joke. So I don't know why people are always saying that he's so powerful or something like that. No, he's not. I've never believed a word the Pope said. I've never even heard him say it. I don't never even listen to him. I doubt anybody believes the Pope. Like when the Pope says, "Oh, you gotta do this in order to go to heaven." You think anybody actually believes that stuff? I don't. I've never met a Christian globehead. Clearly, that's a good way to put it, because you know what? 5 years ago, there was tons of Christian globeheads because we were all globeheads. But hi, Crystalline. It's still in Ethiopian scriptures. Yes, it is. That right now, that's what I'm trying to say is right now there is no Christian globehead. There is deceived beast worshippers and his image. In Romans 1, Paul, the Apostle Paul, said that we would change the glory of God into a corruptible image. And that's what we've done. So what I'm saying is the globehead part only became a word. That word globehead didn't even exist 5 years ago. That's a new word. So, I mean, well, maybe, but globehead just means someone today. That means someone that refuses to believe the truth. That's really what it means. They refuse to believe the word of God. So if they're a Christian, they're just pretending to be a Christian at this point. But that's why this truth has been revealed, so that people have a chance to be saved by the grace of God. I'm not saying that people weren't saved when this was hidden. It's just different now. It's not hidden, so it's revealed. It's revealed. There's a place in hell called Tartarus for some particular fallen ones. But now that Crystalline, that's I think in Enoch it mentions Tartarus, but what I'm wondering is Tartarus the same place where the fallen angels are imprisoned? Because they were buried in the earth for 70 generations, and then they were led off up there to the bottomless pit. So, and they were going to stay there forever. Like that's the judgment until the great judgment, or until the final judgment. So worship creation instead of creation, or creator instead of creation. Cool. Well, I actually probably have to get going, but yeah, it's not the Roman Catholic Church. It has nothing to do with the beast. The beast is something that's described in the Bible. And yes, the beast has dominion of the host of heaven. The beast deceives the whole world into believing in a ball, into believing that earth is some corruptible image, when it's the glory of God in a huge display of power. Look at everything around us is it describes the full power of the Godhead, everything that we experience. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, they're out now. Well, they're out, but they're imprisoned now. They're still imprisoned. They're imprisoned, rolling over a fire over that abyss. So that was Crystal Lane's comment. Yes, flat Earth is New Jerusalem. I like that. Yeah. So this is probably a boring movie when I'm just sitting here, or I mean, a boring video when I'm just sitting here looking at the comments. But I'm gonna check out, guys. I just wanted to, yeah. I think that I'll be honest. I do not think that people, I'll use Adam for an example. I don't think he's going to be able to see this thing I'm trying to explain because I've tried to go over it with him, privately and stuff. And it just doesn't seem to be something that he's grasped onto. That doesn't mean that Adam's wrong and it just, or anything like that. I'm just saying that it means that maybe the spiritual side of this is more hidden to some people than it is to other people. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, give a thumbs up. Not like it matters, but thank you guys. Michael Kilpatrick, is that right? I hope so. Crystal Lane Cleary, Flat Earth is New Jerusalem. Fool me not. Trevor Prather, Peter. Oh, I didn't even see you in there, Peter. Sorry. Catholic churchgoers are agreeable, okay? Let's see here. Got Davey 313. And I'm thinking that was it, but I could be wrong. Oh, Michael. Oh, yeah, we had P900 Cool Picks. Michael Kilpatrick again. I didn't see you earlier there. Sorry about that, Michael. Yeah, I like what you wrote there, Michael Kilpatrick. There was supposed to be an eighth wandering star in the last days that would fool many, and it is fooling many. Crazy. It's crazy that that's in the Bible. Oh, Peanuts Clark, you too. Thank you for hanging out. I always forget so many people that come through. All right, I think that was all. Hope I didn't. Oh, wait. Tacoma Hooligan. Forgot. Tacoma Hooligan. All right, you guys. I hope I didn't miss anybody. But you guys all have a wonderful Saturday, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for hanging out, guys.